There are moments in a conflict when a single piece of footage can alter how commanders on both sides think about the battlefield. Over the past week, one such video, raw, stark, and released by fighters in Lebanon, has rattled Israel's military and refocused attention on a new kind of threat: small, fast, manually guided attack drones that can hunt soldiers and, according to their distributors, strike at the heart of air defense arrays. The scene along the Israel-Lebanon frontier has deteriorated sharply. In the last several days, exchanges of fire have included rocket barrages, artillery strikes, and a renewed wave of drone operations. The Israeli military says one of its reserve soldiers, a 47-year-old reservist, was killed in a drone strike near the northern border. Other Israeli service members have been wounded. In one reported incident, 3 soldiers were injured by a booby-trapped drone that detonated in southern Lebanon. Lebanese media and health officials report civilian day ease in southern Lebanon after Israeli airstrikes, with several villages hit and families mourning elderly relatives and children. Those losses are feeding a cycle of reprisal and retaliation that shows few signs of slowing. What changed the tone of military deliberations was footage that surfaced in early May 2026. The video, published by media close to Hezbollah, is shot from the point of view of a first-person view attack drone, an FPV drone, and it appears to show the aircraft diving toward an Israeli air defense position. In the released clips, the camera follows a low, fast approach, closing on a launcher platform and on personnel operating nearby. The group claimed both the platform and its crew were hit. In another sequence, the drone's camera feeds track a lone soldier across rough terrain. For several seconds, the man runs, changes course, and seems to realize he is being hunted. The final frames cut to black just as he leaps from position, the kind of imagery that turned it's a tactical event into a moment of psychological shock. Hezbollah's military media presented the strikes as coordinated. 2 FPV drones used in sequence, one targeting the launcher platform and the other targeting nearby personnel. Independent verifications of casualties at the air defense site has been slow to come. Israeli officials have been cautious in public, but Israeli Army radio and other local outlets reported that some military sources are treating the footage as evidence of a strike on an Iron Dome battery near a site identified in some reports as Jal al-Alam. The Israeli Defense Forces, according to those reports, have opened an internal investigation into what military sources described as one of the most serious drone strikes of the current fighting. Why this footage matters is straightforward. For 2 decades, the Iron Dome has been a central pillar of Israel's layered air defense system, highly effective at intercepting rockets and guided projectiles launched at Popo. Centers and bases, but FPV attack drones operate differently. They fly low, fast, and deliberately. They are piloted in real time from a remote console, often feeding live video back to the operator. Some of the FPV systems now being deployed in and from southern Lebanon are reportedly linked to their operators by an ultra-thin fiber optic cable rather than conventional radio signals. That cable, invisible to most radars and human observers, can transmit high-quality video while preventing electronic countermeasures from severing the control link. The result is an unmanned munition that can be guided visually into gaps in airspace defenses, and that is difficult to detect until the final seconds before impact. Military analysts and field commanders put the danger in practical terms. Sensors built to find rockets and aircraft are not optimized against small, low-flying drones that present little radar cross-section and that can hug terrain or pop up from behind obstacles. FPVs can be as quick and agile as a bullet and precise in ways that unguided rockets are not. They change the calculus not only for stationary installations, but for moving targets on the ground, vehicles, and individual soldiers. Within hours of the video's circulation, Israeli units near the border began reporting emergency countermeasures. Media reports say the army has rushed new layers of protection to frontline positions, anti-drone netting, acoustic detection systems designed to pick up the unique signatures of small electric motors, and revised warning protocols for units exposed to low-altitude approaches. Commanders, according to those reports, are rethinking routine patterns of movement and exposure, and staging areas once considered safe are being reassessed. On the Lebanese side, fighters have made full use of the publicity value of these weapons. The same footage that shows a drone's final approach also doubles as a recruitment and morale tool, a vivid demonstration that a Chia, relatively simple system, can inflict damage against a sophisticated opponent. The military message from Hezbollah is clear. New tactics and technologies can blunt some of Israel's conventional advantages and complicate its plans for offensive operations inside southern Lebanon. The human toll behind the imagery remains painfully immediate. Lebanese health authorities and local reporters have documented civilian deaths in villages struck by Israeli air raids in southern Lebanon. In one account circulating in local media, an airstrike on a village identified by some outlets as Abba killed an elderly woman and her grandson. Other strikes in the Nabatea Governorate have been blamed for multiple civilian casualties, while families mourn brothers and neighbors killed in overnight bombardments. Across the border, Israeli households live with the fear that a drone or rocket could reach them without warning. Evacuation advisories for villages near fighting have become routine, and Hama that non-Aryan agencies are scrambling to respond to waves of displacement and damage. This latest phase of the Israel-Hezbollah confrontation did not emerge from a vacuum. The two sides have a long history of clashes, and the current fighting has its roots in events that unfolded over recent months as tensions escalated across the region. Hezbollah is a well-armed, highly organized militia and political movement in Lebanon, and it receives significant support from the Islamic Republic of Iran. Its operational doctrine has adapted over the years, incorporating more sophisticated anti-armor missiles, rocket barrages, and now, more openly, drone warfare. Israel, for its part, has not only relied on air power and precision strikes, but on the Iron Dome and other systems that have, until now, been effective in protecting population centers from massed rocket attacks. The tactical shift toward FPV engagement raises strategic questions that extend far beyond the immediate battlefield. If small, fine. Burr optically linked drones can be used to penetrate or at least challenge air defense positions, then the balance of aerial threats along the Lebanese front may be changing. Air defense planners must now consider low-cost, hard-to-detect unmanned systems as a core threat vector. That suggests investments not just in physical barriers and acoustic sensors, but in new doctrines, dispersed or hardened launcher sites, enhanced camouflage and concealment for crews, improved trow cost traction protocols, and a more aggressive posture toward drone operators before they can get within striking distance. The psychological impact should not be underestimated. Soldiers on the ground are being filmed and hunted by what are essentially guided projectiles. One of the release sequences appears for several seconds to show a drone locking onto a lone soldier, tracking his movement across rough terrain as he realizes he is being pursued. These are the images that change how troops move, how they rest, how they plan operations, increasing stress and forcing commanders to factor in new kinds of exposure and vulnerability. For the civilian population on both sides, the stakes are grim. Airstrikes and rocket barrages close to populated areas have killed civilians in Lebanon and put Israeli border communities at risk. Humanitarian concerns are mounting. Families displaced from villages in southern Lebanon need shelter, medical care, and food. The risk of miscalculation in a crowded border zone remains high. The international community has expressed concern about spillover and about the prospect of a prolonged confrontation that could draw in regional actors. Israeli officials say they are adapting. Military spokespeople stress the continuing effectiveness of interceptors and the importance of intelligence and early warning. In public statements, the army has been measured, acknowledging the threat posed by drones while guarding operational details. Internally, the reported investigation on into the alleged Iron Dome strike aims to piece together what happened at the launch site and whether procedures must change to protect both people and systems. If an Iron Dome battery was indeed struck, the incident would prompt a reappraisal of how and where air defense assets are deployed in a contested and close-quarters theater. On the other side, Hezbollah is publicly celebrating the tactical demonstration and uses the footage to underscore a narrative of resistance and capability. The group's releases blend operational claims with the kind of battlefield imagery that plays well on social media and broadcast platforms. Whether these strikes mark a sustainable shift in battlefield dominance or momentary breakthroughs depends on several variables: how quickly countermeasures are developed and fielded, whether other actors adopt similar tactics, and how commanders adapt their doctrines. There is another, often overlooked consequence of the rise of FPV drone warfare: the arrow, a scion of the distance between decision and effect. In previous conflicts, a weapon like a rocket would be fired and its targeting would be determined far earlier in the process. An FPV drone, guided visually in real time, can be steered to exploit momentary lapses, unexpected movements, or terrain features that make a vehicle or soldier particularly vulnerable. It brings situational awareness and munition control together in a way that amplifies the value of skilled operators and reduces the advantage of sheer technological superiority. The broader regional backdrop matters. Iran's support for Hezbollah, political, financial, and military, continues to shape the group's capabilities and ambitions. Diplomatic efforts to de-escalate are ongoing in various channels, but the events on the ground demonstrate how quickly localized exchanges can escalate, particularly when new technologies change the cost-benefit calculations of attack and defense. For the people living within striking distance, ants of the border, technology and tactics matter less than basic safety. Communities in southern Lebanon have seen their homes and infrastructure damaged. Families in northern Israel live with sirens and shelters and the uncertainty of what new threats may arrive next. Humanitarian actors warn that sustained fighting will overwhelm local capacities, exacerbate shortages, and increase the long-term cost of reconstruction and reconciliation. Looking ahead, several things will determine whether this phase of the conflict remains a series of episodic clashes or evolves into something longer and more dangerous. First is adaptation. Can defensive systems be modified quickly enough to detect and defeat small, low-signature drones? Second is doctrine. Will commanders in the field change how they position critical assets and personnel to reduce exposure? Third is escalation control. Can political leaders on both sides find ways to limit the scope of retaliation so that tactical advances do not spiral into strategic calamity? There are no easy answers. Technological breakthroughs have a habit of producing countermeasures, and history shows that when one side finds a new advantage, the other side moves to blunt it. What is new and alarming to many military planners is the combination of low cost, ease of manufacture, and the potential to inflict high-value damage with these FPV systems. In the weeks ahead, expect to see more experimentation, both by users of the systems and by defenders, and more footage of encounters that will shape public perception and military doctrine in equal measure. For now, the images remain raw and the claims remain contested as investigators seek to corroborate the footage and as units on the ground adjust their posture, the human cost continues to accumulate. Families in villages and towns on both sides of the frontier count the days and tend to the wounded. Commanders study new clips and revise tactics. Nations watch closely because the lessons learned on this narrow strip of land between Lebanon and Israel will ripple outward, informing how armies and militias alike think about drones, air defense, and the protection of people in a landscape where the next strike can come from a machine the size of a bird. If nothing else, the recent footage is a reminder that the face of war keeps changing and that every technological turn forces hard choices. How to protect people, how to preserve deterrence, and how to prevent local clashes from becoming regional conflagrations in the border towns and the battlegrounds where this new chapter is being written. Those choices are being made in real time in command centers, in armored cabins, and increasingly in the thin stream of video that